Hey guys, welcome back to the video. In today's video, we're going to be learning about functions. So this is part 1 of functions. If you want to see part 2 of functions, you can go to my channel and check it out. So part 2 is not yet, so I'm going to be posting on that too. So stay tuned. So before going into the video, I would appreciate you guys liking and subscribing the video, and feel free to comment. So let's go into the topic. Let's see what is a function. A function is a block of code that can be run and when called. So let's take a deeper look what a function is. So a function is basically like a block of reusable code. So I use the word reusable because you can use it and call multiple times. So now let's see the keyword or how you write in Python. Function uses the keyword def. So to create or make a function, you use the word def. So now let's see an example. How do you create function? So to create a function, as I said, we use the keyword def, and now you have to write the name of the function. So let's say I want to print 3. So let's keep the name relevant to 3. Print 3. So this is my function name. So be sure to keep the function name relevant to what you want to do, because that's going to help you a lot if you have a lot of functions. So that's how these works. Now you have to write a pair of parentheses and then followed by a colon. So we just created a function, and now it's kind of simple. You just write the code. And be sure to keep the indentation same, because function needs indentation same like the for loops. So now let's say I want to print 3. Print 3. So as you see, my topic is print 3 and my function name is kind of relevant to that too. So be sure to keep the function name relevant. And now let's see, how do you call a function? So I created a function. Now how do you call it? To call the function or access the function, you just copy this part. So you use the parentheses, include the parentheses, because that's how you call a function. This is the main part. And see, I just type print my function name and followed by the parentheses. And now if I run this program, as usual, it have to print 3. So that's how these functions work. Now let's see another example for this. Let's say this time I wanna give a variable and print 3. So print x. So because this time I'm gonna give a variable named x, and now x equals, let's say, 15. So x equals 15. So it's kind of basically like storing the values. So I just stored 15 in x, and now let's print x. Print x. And now we should not forget to call the function print x, and then there we go. We just called the function and also we wrote the code. And now if I run this program, as you see, 15. Let me make it clear. So now if I run this program, as you see, it's printing 15. So that's how functions work. And now let's see some more items about or facts about functions. So now let's see arguments. Arguments are the information that can be passed into a function as arguments. So basically, like, you can pass the values. So let's say I want to pass an argument or the value called 6. So now if I pass a value to the function, it's gonna store it in a variable if you have one. So that's how these work. Parameters. So parameters are nothing but the temporary variables that receive the arguments. And be sure, if you have 5 or any number of arguments, you should have the same number of parameters, except in some cases which we are going to be discussing in today's video. So let's see what I mean by arguments. Now let's say I want to print 3 or some number by an argument. So I'm gonna pass an argument, I have to have a parameter too. So let's say print x. So this is where you pass the parameters. So this is a parameter, so that's a temporary variable which is going to be changed by the arguments. And now let's say print x. So we didn't define x, but So actually, if we didn't define it, it's gonna come an error. But functions is different. This is an parameter which can be any number or value or even a string or even list. So let's call the function print x. And now this time we have to pass an argument. Let's pass the number 8. And now as you see, it's printing 8. Let me make it clear. Let me delete this thing and now print it. So it's printing 8. As I said, we also can pass string. Let's say hello. And now if we run this program, as you see, hello. So anything basically can be passed into a function. So functions are kind of fun and they're kind of confusing too at some points. So that's how that's how functions work. And now let's see some more examples. So let's say this time I want to print names of the people. So using the arguments and parameters. So this time print names, or let's take values. And now let's put the parameter. So this time we're gonna take name because we have to have their name and also their nickname. So we're basically taking two parameters, which means there should be two arguments. So we have two parameters named name and nickname. And now let's print hi plus the name. So we gotta add the name. So first let's use the f string, which can be used like if you want to use variables inside a string. To use that, you use the f string at beginning of the string, and then you use a flower brackets to use the variables. Let's say name. And now let's print their nickname. Your nickname is, and their nickname, NICNAME. So that's how this thing works. And now if I pass the arguments, it's gonna print the name and also the nickname. So let's first call the function. So whatever you want to do, you have to call the function. And there's no way you can access the function without the calling method. So this time we're gonna say the code. And now let's write the nickname. So this time we're gonna put the nickname called code. And now if we run this program, it should show hi the code, your nickname is code. So that's how these parameters, arguments, nicknames, everything work. So as you see, hi the code, your nickname is code. So that's how these work. And now let's take another example. This time we're gonna take some more arguments or parameters. This time we're gonna take print, let's say print their email. So this time we're gonna print their email and their details. So let's write details because we're printing their details. So details. And now let's write their email. So this is a parameter. So I have one right now. And now let's use their ID and also their name. So I have three parameters, which are email, ID, and name. So whenever I want, I could use it. It's okay if you have one and you don't use it, but it's not okay if you have the three parameters and you don't pass three arguments. So now let's print your email is, you have to make it an f string. So I made it an f string right now, email. So basically what we are doing is we're just printing their email and their ID, which is kind of before one, but this time we're using some more arguments. So your ID is ID and then your name is name. So that's how this works. And now let's call the function. So details. And now we have to pass three arguments. So now let's pass an email called the code at gmail.com. So that is the Gmail which we passed. And now let's pass the ID. Let's pass in a string 10 or some numbers. Okay, I wrote some numbers, I don't know what are they. And now code. And now if I should run this program, as you see, your email is decoded at @gmail.com. Your ID is these numbers and your name is code. So that's how the strings, the functions, everything work. So now let's go to a topic called arbitrary arguments. So this is where it takes place. If you don't know how many arguments you are giving, you can use the arbitrary arguments. So I said at the beginning of the video that you need the same amount of parameters and also the arguments. But in this case, you can have as many arguments you want, but you have to have the name. So now let's see what arbitrary arguments mean. Arbitrary arguments are nothing like this is how like short form of it. So this is called an asterisk. So that's an asterisk are used when you don't know how many arguments are passed. So as I said, the definition of it it's used when you don't know how many arguments are passed. So now let's see an example for it. So this time we're using the same example called the print. You have to print the print name. So this time we're gonna print their details too. So let's take name. So this is an arbitrary argument. But if I write like this, that's gonna be a parameter. So to use those arguments kind of thing, you add an asterisk. This is called an asterisk. And now you write the name. Let's say you can keep X, you can keep ID, you can keep even name. So this time this thing name is name, so basic topic, so that's why I'm putting it name. And now let's print name of 2. So this accessing is like kind of somewhere seen. Yeah, this is the list accessing. So that's how you use in this one. And this time let's call the function as usual. Print name. So I call the function, and now we need this is where the arbitrary arguments taking place. We didn't give as many as names, so we don't know how many arguments will be passed. We can pass John, we can pass how many people we want, but make sure they should be in a string. Joe, we can pass as many as we want. We can pass Jonathan, we can, and now let me say even Lee. So these are the 4 people I have in it, and now I said access the name too, which is gonna be 0, 1, 2. If you don't know how to read the position or how do you access it, you have to go check out my list video, which I explain how do you access it and everything. So if you want, I can give you a basic quick review. So it starts from 0 and ends till the how many you have. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So that's how these work. And now if I run this program, it's gonna print Jonathan. As you see, it's gonna print it. Let's say we want to print Joe. So let's type Joe 1, which is the position of Joe is 1. And as you see, Joe prints. So these are called arbitrary arguments when you don't know how many arguments are passed. Remember, I just used one parameter. So these are the arguments which I have. 4 and 1 are not equal. So that's how arbitrary arguments work. And now let's see another type of arbitrary arguments, but these are just a bit different. It's kind of a combined topic. These are called arbitrary keyword arguments. So it's basically the keyword arguments and also combined with arbitrary arguments. So these are also known as quarks, and these are arbitrary arguments are args, and these are quarks. So now let's see. Arbitrary keyword arguments are used when you don't know how many key value arguments are there. Key value, remember, this is the keyword argument. So when you don't know how many key value arguments are there, you use the arbitrary keyword arguments. So let's take some examples for arbitrary keyword arguments. So first, I'm creating a function with print names. So it's gonna print names of people. So to use an arbitrary keyword argument, you use 2 asterisks, and this time I'm gonna type kids. So basically, I'm just printing the names of some kids. Print kids of, we're gonna see who should be print after calling, because that's how it depends. Print names. So this time we're gonna give people name Johnny, and let's keep Joe, and this time Eric and Liam. So these are the 4 people I have, and now this prints an error because arbitrary keyword arguments are the one like unique key value pairs. So let me keep kid 1 equals, this is kid 2 equals, this is kid 3 equals, and now this is kid 4 equals. So that's how the key value arbitrary arguments work. And now you access by their name, not by the position but by their name. So now let's say I want to print Eric. So to print Eric, we are gonna write kid 3 but with the string. So you have to write the string for them. So I seen a lot of people make mistakes without the string. Even myself, I did made a lot of mistakes with that. So as you see, we are printing Eric. And now let's try to print Johnny, kid 1. So you have to carefully see their names and write. And now Johnny. So that's how these arbitrary keyword arguments work. And now let's see some of the main topics and also kind of like the basic topics of functions. That is the return statement. Return statement can send result back to the caller. So return statements are used kind of a lot, which are pretty basic and also pretty important too. So now let's see some examples using the return statement. So first, let's say I want to print some random number. Let's say I want to double the number. So doubler, because I'm doubling the number, and then value. So that is my parameter, and now we have to instead of printing x, we have to return it. So return is kind of like sending the value or the thing modified or something back to the caller. So after you have after you send it to the caller, you have to print it too. It just sent inside it, but if you want to see the value, you have to print it. So return value times 2, because this is a doubler. And now this time we have to access the function. And now doubler, let's say this time 8. And now after doing that, you have to print it. Remember, you have to print it. And now if I print this, now it should come like 8 times 2, which is 16. And you can call it multiple times, which I said at my beginning of my video. So this time let's gonna give 5, and this time we're gonna give 2. So if you take a deeper look, it's gonna print 16, 10, and 4. So that's how these things work. So that's how return statements work, and return statements are pretty easy and also very important. That's it for today's video. See you in the next video. Until then, bye bye.